Hey paper crafters, thank you so much for joining me today. I love that you took the time to pop by my channel, check out the video that I've got going, and hopefully stay and poke around a little bit. I'm really excited to be able to offer some videos now and then and share my love of paper crafting. So I hope you find something that you enjoy and come back to see me another time. Bye-bye. Hey paper crafting friends, thanks for tuning in today. I wanted to share with you this bokeh technique. And I did look this word up because I wanted to see how to pronounce it. So it sounds kind of like bouquet, like a bouquet of flowers. Emphasis on the bow, so bokeh. So this technique is really referring to the way this looks like it's got those spots of light. And so it's a photography technique, but it can also be duplicated into the crafting world. So this particular kit, this is from the Annie's CardMaker Kit of the Month Club. This particular kit this month is featuring this technique. And in the kit were 3 8.5 by 11 sheets of watercolor paper. So all I've done to get ready to try out this technique is cut the paper into 4 pieces, okay? So I've got my 4 pieces of watercolor paper, and the directions recommend attaching it down so that you have just a small edge covered, but your paper stays nice and still. So I've already taped down 3 sides, but I wanted to show you kind of how I did this so that I would end up with a nice clean edge all the way around in case I end up using the entire piece, okay? So you can see by what's left, by what's showing here, that I centered that piece so that it was right smack in the middle of measurement lines, okay? So that basically puts it so there's an 1/8 inch showing all the way around. What makes that nice is I can use this 1-inch Post-it tape, and I can tear a piece that is about the size that I need. And I can't really see underneath that to guess exactly where I should be lining this up. But because this is 1-inch Post-it tape, I can line up on the lines on my mat. Okay, so I can count down 1, 2, 3 full squares. So that's 3/4 of an inch. And then that 1/8. And what's going to happen is by lining that up really carefully on here, I'm also covering up just 1/8 of an inch of my card front. So hopefully that makes sense. So I am just going to go through the steps that it shared in these directions. I have not tried this yet, so we are trying this together. So if it fails miserably, it's not my fault. No, I'm just kidding. So the first thing that it recommends, obviously, is getting this cut and taped down. And then you fill out this water pen. So here's the funny thing about the water pen. I think it was probably one of the hardest parts of my job. It screws open and closed opposite of what you would guess. So that is harder to navigate than you would think. All right, so here we go. Filled water brush up. Hey, I'm already on step 3. Gently squeeze barrel of water brush to release water onto paper. Apply water generously to paper. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to squeeze the barrel. Oh, and you can see just a little bit of water coming on. And I'm just going to, it says generously. So I'm trying to get the whole thing wet. And I'll do probably more than one of these with you guys, just so maybe we can learn from the technique the first time if there's adjustments that we need to make. So there we go. That seemed pretty generous. And then it wants us to open the ink pads and put some ink onto an acrylic stamping block. So I think for this one, I'm going to go ahead and use the red. That's actually what it shows in the example. So let's do that. So I'm going to put that block here, and I'm going to apply some ink straight onto the block. I don't know how much I need, so I can come back to it if necessary. And then it says to pick up the ink with the water brush and start applying it to the paper. So here we go. And I'm just going to start in one area. And I know I can pull out some more water if need be. Okay. I guess I could make this kind of as dark or as light as I want. So definitely looks like I'm going to need more ink on here because I've picked up a good percentage of it. And I don't know if there's really a rhyme or reason to this. So for now, I'm just going to kind of try to make it look somewhat uniform. Get some more ink on here. I think kind of the nice thing about this too is because these kits come with the ink pads, I feel like, I don't know, I don't have to be so careful with them. I don't have to baby them. If they get me through this project, I'm pretty happy. So I think what I want to do here is, rather than pick up more ink, I'm going to let this part be a little bit softer. I don't know. So, all right, so there's this one. Hopefully you can see it's got a little bit of a graduated look coming from the top down. It gets lighter at the bottom. I'm thinking when I look at this guide, maybe I want to apply a little bit more ink at the top. Oh. I feel like we're experimenting here, which is actually one of my favorite ways to craft. I just don't usually do it on video. So bear with me. Alrighty. So I think what we're gonna do, that definitely added some ink on there. I'm happy about that. It's got a little richer tone. At this point, it says to let it dry. So the idea will be to just set this one aside and let it dry. I don't want to remove it from the mat until we get all the way through the process. So I'll go ahead and pause here. Once it's dry, I'll come on and try the next step, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I'm back, and this has had time to dry. I'm not sure exactly how long that took. I went and took a shower and took care of a couple things. So the next step says to open the white ink, place sponge dauber on index finger of dominant hand, place sponge dauber in ink, and then to use this stencil that was part of this month's club to layer and create circles. So there's not a right or wrong way to do this. It does recommend not inking the dauber every single time so that you get different white levels of whiteness, I guess is the way to put it. So let's see how this goes. I'm hoping this is totally dry. It is damp here today. We had rain all day yesterday and all in the night, so hopefully I'm not too premature on this. It's possible because I can definitely see that there's some of the pink kind of coming up from the original step. So the idea being we're creating these circles of white. So let's see how that looks for starters. Oh, interesting. Okay, so it is, there's some whiteness on there. And I don't know, you know, kind of how much is due to this different style of ink pad and that kind of thing. So they did send 2 sets, so I may try the other one and just see if it's a little bit more inky, I guess, because it does seem like it's requiring me to pick up quite a bit here. Okay, so I would just keep going on this and inking and adding those circles, some lighter, some darker. I'm gonna grab out this second set just in case this white is a little more inky, like I said. Let's check that out. I'm gonna do just one right here. I don't know how much you guys can see of this. It is definitely laying down the ink and creating that circle effect. And I would imagine you just kind of keep going throughout this stencil, throughout the, background sheet, deciding on what size circles you want, how much ink you want each time. Whoops. Holding the stencil still. And it is interesting that it talks about swirling. I'm not having a lot of luck getting the ink to lay down with the swirling. I'm having better luck just kind of daubing it on. Okay. So you would just kind of continue with that. At this point, what I want to do, I'm going to pull this one up. I am kind of wondering about something with this watercolor paper. And watercolor paper has a definite front and back. I'm going to try to keep this attached so I can continue to work on this later. So give me a second. Okay, so watercolor paper has a definite front and back, and I'm not sure that I paid attention to that when I put this down. So it didn't really bring that up, and so I don't know that I was thinking about it, but there's a smooth side and then there's more of a textured side. So you definitely want that textured side to be up. So I'm going to go ahead and get this one taped down. And it does recommend, either washi tape or painter's tape for this. So really whatever it is that you've got. You just don't want to leave too much of an edge because you want to be able to use a great amount of that paper. Okay. So I'm just doing exactly what I talked about before. I really centered it up on there. And then I'm using the guidelines on my mat to help me get this taped in a consistent way with that edge all the way around. I'm not sure if the watercolor is just going to kind of sneak underneath this anyway. It may. So, okay. There we go. Let's try the blue. So now I know I have the rough side up. I've got my water brush. I did make sure that I rinsed it. There's some staining on the tip. I don't think that's unusual. So I'm going to scooch this back just a little bit. I did it on a white paper towel. I'm not concerned that the pink's going to come off. Hopefully I'm right about that. But remember what it said to start. It's like apply the water generously. Again, I don't know exactly what that means, but I want to make sure that it's good and damp. Okay. And then we're just going to try this same technique that we used last time. I'm going to get some ink on here. Starting with a light blue. There's not a lot coming off. Hopefully that's on there. It's a little bit hard to see. And I'm also going to use a little bit of dark blue. We'll see how much this picks up. Because what I'm thinking is I want to do some of the darker blue kind of off in the corner. Yeah, that didn't leave much ink. Maybe that's why there's two of these, just in case. Get a little bit more of that. And then I'm going to pick up the lighter blue. So always cool to try a new technique. Does every technique become part of your toolbox? Nope. So I have not made up my mind about this one yet. The effect is a little more subtle than I was expecting. So I am kind of wondering at this point if I want to switch to a different style of ink pad, and that may be what I do, because I want more color. And I'm just not getting enough ink on this. So I'm going to grab like one of my close to my heart ink pads, maybe Lagoon or Peacock, something like that, that I feel like I'm going to get a little more color down. Let's see how that goes. All right, so I ended up grabbing Bluebird and Sapphire because I just wanted to kind of go with something else that's going to have a similar tone, but hopefully an intensity that's more like what I'm looking for. So the Sapphire is the darker one. I'm going to put it on this side. All right, let's pick up some of this. Cool. So that's kind of more what I was looking for, you guys. I wanted a deeper level of color. So I'm not sure that my problem is necessarily with the technique. My problem might be more with the ink that was provided with the kit. So I don't know. So let's finish this up. I actually switched to the Bluebird and it's got a lot of intensity too. So I was expecting it to be a bit lighter, but I'm good. I wanted color, so that's what I got. I'm not sure that it's making a difference which side of the paper I had up. I may have had it correct last time. I just wasn't positive. So I'll lay a little bit more of this darkness down over here in the corners because I did want a little bit of contrast there. A bit of a diagonal feel. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and leave this one to dry so we can see how much intensity is left after that dries, and then we'll come back and check it out and see what we can do as far as the technique with the circle stencil and the white ink. All right, so while I'm waiting for that blue one to dry, I went ahead and went back to this original one, and I decided that I would give it a shot with my close to my heart White Daisy. This is a pigment-based ink. I figured let's see how that works, and it definitely had more of an impact. So you can see I've created that effect with those overlapping circles of different sizes, and it is looking sort of like the example. So I still think what my biggest problem is getting the intensity of the ink in the first place. So if you look at this, you see how much red there is on there, and that's going to make those circles show up so much better. So I am going to try this again with a different ink as that laydown ink, because I just think that that initial part of the process is going to be really important to get that intensity. And I'm excited to see how that blue one turns out. So I don't think that my problem is with the technique. I think my problem is with the materials. So maybe those little tiny ink pads that came with this month's kit are not the answer. Maybe I just need to stick with what I know is a really high quality product for that piece. So I love that that this month's kit came with some great ideas, and it got me out of my comfort zone playing with a new technique. I'm glad that I had better quality ink to kind of salvage it. And I will show the blue one and kind of see how that one finishes up too. But I hope that you enjoyed getting to check out this bokeh technique, just to see if it's something that you want to play with. Leave me a comment and let me know if you do it. Maybe even send me a picture. I would love to see how yours turns out. And if you've played with this before, please feel free to share any tips and techniques in the comments. Thanks for popping in today and joining me. If you want to know more about any of the products that I used today or this particular kit club, go ahead and check out the description box and you can see a little bit more there. I do provide a link to Annie's CardMaker Kit of the Month Club that gives you 50% off your first shipment. So use that link if it's something that you're interested in trying out. So I will talk to you guys soon. And again, I appreciate you joining in. I can't wait to show you what that blue one looks like. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.